Hello everybody, my name is RetroBoy03, and welcome back to another LEGO Dimensions 3-in-1 review. Yeah, it's been a while. In this video, we'll be taking a look at set number 71247, the Harry Potter Team Pack, which comes with 2 minifigures, 119 pieces, and upon release, retailed for around $25 in the United States. Although now a lot of places you can find it for a lot cheaper. So, let's just get started with the minifigures. So, I've already taken a look at this Harry minifigure a couple of times, so I'll be rather brief here. I've taken a look at a figure that's pretty much identical to this one, aside from one difference, but as you can see, Harry has no printing on the legs, but the torso print is pretty nice and definitely the best part of the figure in my opinion. It's not too detailed, but it doesn't really need to be, and I feel as though it gets all the detail you need. You have some wrinkles, you have the stitching lines for the sweater, you have the Gryffindor badge with the little lion printed in there, on the tie, you have a couple of gold stripes, which is a pretty nice detail. If I had one small complaint, I guess it would be that I'm not a huge fan of how the skin at the very top of the torso is pink, but that's something we see a lot when LEGO tries to print skin, or I guess just light colors in general, onto dark colors, so it's fine in my opinion. On the back, the design continues with just a couple of wrinkle lines, the stitching line, and the nice red and gold stripe continuing around. For a wand, Harry just gets this 3 long brown bar, and I am so glad that in the new Harry Potter sets for 2018, LEGO's making an actual wand piece, because, let's be honest, this looks pretty stupid. Although I feel as though this probably would have looked a bit better if instead of getting it in straight brown, I think it would have been looked a bit better if maybe Harry's wand had come in dark brown for that piece. That just would have been more accurate, and like the little toy plastic Harry Potter wand I got for $12 when I was 8 years old, that one's dark brown, so I think it would have made more sense to get this in dark brown. But unfortunately, if it isn't too easy to make the replacement, as this 3 long bar piece in dark brown only came in the Series 12 collectible minifigures Wizard. So if you don't have that piece, then you pretty much have to stick with this brown one, which is still fine. It's just that I do wish he'd come with a dark brown one, especially since in-game Harry does have a dark brown wand. So yeah, it's just kind of odd that they gave him a wand piece that isn't accurate to the one he had in-game, but anyway then, just like with the torso, the face print is the one that we've had since 2010. It'll help if I pull off the hairpiece so you can actually see it, but yeah. I don't feel as though it's too great a likeness to Daniel Radcliffe, but I think it does fine. I like the print for the lightning scar, and the glasses are nice as well. The alternate face is a bit more angry, and interestingly, the box for this set actually acts as though this is the primary face, but personally, I don't know, I just don't think this face looks as good as the primary, the smiling face that I consider to be the primary expression. So, yeah, but before we finish with Harry, I do want to get to sort of one more thing, and that's comparing this guy to the 2010 Harry. And also, a bit of a problem with this guy, his hair covers up his scar. That's a bit of an issue, but yeah. As you can see, just pulling in the 2010 Harry, you can see that these two are the same torso print. It looks slightly different, but I'm pretty sure that's just obviously these were made in different batches, being quite a few years apart, so it will look different, but the only actual difference is in the hairpiece, and as much as I'm not the biggest fan of the old Harry Potter hairpiece that we saw from 2001 to 2011, I think it looks better than this, because at least that looks a little bit like Harry's hairstyle. But yeah, just my thoughts. I prefer the 2010 version, but this version's still fine. If you don't have the 2010 version of Harry, this is still a fine version. I'd just recommend switching out the hairpiece to something else. So yeah, overall pretty good figure though. Unfortunately, I'm not entirely sure I can say the same for Lord Voldemort, the other figure we get in this team pack. And first off, does anyone else think it's odd that we have a team pack of two mortal enemies? Like, wouldn't it have made more sense if, like, Harry and Hermione came in the team pack, and then Voldemort was the fun pack? Or maybe we could have gotten, like, just not have Voldemort instead of a Harry, Ron, and Hermione? I don't know. I just think it's kind of odd that Harry and Voldemort come in a team pack. But anyway, so Voldemort. I mean, so yeah, not the biggest fan of this guy. Like, he's fine. It's just, like, it really annoys me how he's just so much worse than the original, but from well, 6 years before this came out. Or about 8 years ago at this point, or well, more like 7.5 when I'm recording this. But anyway, like, okay, so starting with the torso print looks fine. I mean, obviously, like, you just have the green lines on the torso to have some wrinkling. Kind of wish the little, like, the division between the two parts of the robe, like this bit here, I kind of wish that line had gone down onto the legs. I mean, I think it's a bit awkward that we don't see it here, especially since here the lines are in normal green instead of dark green, so that's a lot more noticeable. Around the back, Voldemort has a bit of back printing, which is completely pointless, as you would always have him with his cape on, but anyway, yeah. For some reason, Voldemort also comes with a brown wand, which is just completely weird, because, like, obviously, like, through the years, there's been a lot of Liberty and Lego sets with wand colors for Harry Potter figures, but Voldemort has never had a brown wand. Like, in the 2010 sets, he had a white wand, and although by Deathly Hallows Part 2, he should have had, for the Forbidden Forest set from 2011, he still had a white wand in that set, even though by that point he had the Elder Wand, which Lego used which was just a tan wand in Lego. But anyway, so yeah, don't know why this guy's a brown wand. Personally, I think it would have been best if he'd gotten a tan and a 3-lung bar to represent the Elder Wand, but unfortunately, that piece doesn't exist in tan, so really the best we can do is give him one in white to just be his old wand. So, yeah, just like with Harry, the wand color's inaccurate. Even worse here, because as it's extremely noticeable about how in-game Voldemort has a tan wand, when that piece literally doesn't exist in tan for the 3-lung bar, but yeah. Then we have Voldemort's face, which looks really weird, probably because LEGO decided to just take out the nose holes from the original design without actually changing the rest of the head in any way to account for how much empty space there is now. Also, just in general, there's a lot less detailing on it. The eyeshadow just doesn't... It looks a lot more faded, and the lines around the head aren't as pronounced. Like, I think it'll be easiest to show what I mean by just comparing this version to the original version. As you can see, for some reason, there's light coming onto both of them. Like, there we go. Don't know where the light's coming from. Sorry about that, but yeah, you can just see, like, on the head prints... You can just see that the 2010 version just has such higher quality to the print on the head. I really feel as though this new version is such a step down. But yeah, where is that light coming from? Wherever I put something in the middle here, that's really weird. But yeah, anyway. But yeah, and then you can also see the torso print, which is basically the same as the 2010 version, just dark green and instead of normal green. For the comparison there, so they have the same torso print, just different colors, but yeah. So overall, that is the new 2016 rather, if I can even think, the 2016 LEGO Dimensions Voldemort figure. It's still a fine figure, but it's definitely a bit of a letdown in my opinion. Just wanted to show these the toy tags. Here we have Harry's toy tag, which as you can see on the front has the scar in gold, the lightning scar, and on the back we have the Gryffindor symbol, and then on the sides it's gold. So that's nice. Then for Voldemort's, I don't think it looks as good, but it's a more interesting design, even if I don't think it was pulled off the greatest. We have this sort of serpent coiling around, which again is very interesting, but I don't know, I don't think it comes off that great. Then maybe I'm just a bit biased because mine has a badly misprinted eye, but yeah. Kind of a weird design, but it still looks cool overall. So those are the figures and their toy tags. If it'll focus, there we go. And now let's move on to the primary builds of this pack. So here we have the two main builds of the Harry Potter team pack. Starting on the left here, we have Harry's vehicle, which is the Enchanted car, it's called, which is obviously supposed to represent the flying Ford Anglia from Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And I think it has a pretty nice design to it. Like, it doesn't look the greatest, but I feel as though, like, okay, let me show it like this. Like, I feel as though just cutting off the top, it looks pretty good. We have some nice shaping here with these two sort of prefab car pieces, which look fine. I actually, well, no, more than fine. I actually think they work really well here. Obviously the wheels move. But yeah, but then I'm not a huge fan of how they did the windshield. Like, the four cheese slopes with just looks super obvious. It doesn't look that great, and then the back also doesn't look that good. Like, it's just way too angular here, and like, I know at a small scale there weren't many other ways LEGO could have done this, but I don't know, it just looks kind of off here. But like, it's still pretty good, pretty creative design, and obviously LEGO needed these pieces to create the alternate builds, so it works out in the end. So yeah, overall, I think the Enchanted car is a pretty alright build. Nothing great, but I think it gets the job done. The Hogwarts Express, I feel, is a bit off. Starting with, as you can see, we have this little light gray round piece underneath, sort of to keep the front wheels elevated. And the problem there is that it really does make it hard to move this thing around, because like the middle wheel here, like this wheel, this doesn't actually touch the ground, doesn't turn. So you're just resting on the back wheel and that round piece, which really just barely touches the ground, so it's also scraping along on this edge of this piece. So I don't know how they could have fixed that, but I'm not a huge fan of that. Maybe, like, if you remove the round piece, though, it would just be scraping along on this piece. So I don't know what LEGO could have done, but it's I mean, like, you're gonna keep this on the display stand most of the time anyway, so it's fine. Feels like the rest of this looks pretty cool, though. You have, obviously, at the front, it's a steam locomotive, so you have sort of the rounded shape. Kind of wish we got a print on the front of that dome. Like, I think it's kind of odd that neither of these vehicles have any special prints. Like, I don't think the Ford Anglia particularly needed one, but I feel as though maybe it would have definitely been nice to get, like, the Hogwarts Express design printed on the front here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the dish on the front with the number of the train and the stuff like that. I think that would have been pretty cool, but, you have the funnel here, as well as, like, the little boiler, and yeah, that looks pretty good. And then here in the back, you have just the little open section, which obviously is supposed to represent, like, the driver's compartment. You have a couple of windows, and yeah. So overall, that's the Hogwarts Express, a build that I think looks pretty good, even if it doesn't play too well. But yeah. Also, forgot to mention, but just wanted to make sure this is this is a review of just the builds of the set, not the in-game stuff. I will be going a little bit into how these perform at the in-game at the end of this video, but that's not the focus of this video. So yeah, I'm just going off of builds here, and I feel so these are both some pretty fine primary builds, the Enchanted car and the Hogwarts Express. But now let's move on to the secondary builds, those being the Shark Sub or Piranha Sub. Kind of odd how it has a different name in-game than it does on the box. As well as the second as well for the Hogwarts Express being the Soaring Steam Plane. Even though the box says it's the Steam Warrior and the Soaring Steam Plane is third. There are a lot of problems with the box of this set, if you can't tell from my descriptions. Yeah, it's kind of odd. So, yeah, let's move on to the Piranha Sub and the Soaring Steam Plane. So here we have our next two builds, starting off with the Piranha sub, and that is what I'm going to call it, not the Shark sub as is listed on the box, but in-game it's Piranha sub, so that's what I'm calling it. Anyway, this thing looks pretty interesting, to say the least. I like how from the front you have the two beady red eyes, although from literally every other angle that looks pretty odd, but just dead on, that's a pretty good look, with the really interesting building, with those fenders being attached on the sides, and then these being built in between, with these two, with the clear plates just coming flush up against each other without actually connecting. It's a really interesting build. I like it. I like how they did the teeth to be uneven. It does sort of get across that piranha look. The two bottom wheels are used as thrusters, and then on the back we have the two wheels also used as, well, and maybe not thrusters, maybe propellers would be better for the bottom as well, but I do like how in the back we have this gap. Like, I know that really that's just because they couldn't close up the fenders, but I don't know, it seems like that could be like some big exhaust port for the vehicle, so that I actually kind of like that. Probably the one thing I'm not a fan of is how you do have these couple pieces that are just specifically for the stand, because they couldn't fit everything in here, but honestly, it's still fine. And I feel as though this build does definitely look better without that, and I mean, like, yeah, so I'm fine with the stand. I'm just not a fan of in general of the Dimensions builds that need to use some of the parts up in a stand because they can't get it all in the actual build, is what I'm trying to say. But then the other build we have here is the Soaring Steam Plane, which is a really weird one, probably my least favorite of the 6 builds here, but it's an interesting design. I like the propeller up front. It can actually spin, which is nice, and I don't know, I just sort of like that idea. Here you have the 2x2 space of studs, so you could actually sit a minifigure in this vehicle, so that's pretty interesting. I don't actually have the Dimensions Voldemort on me while I'm recording this, so I'll just plop on the original 2010 Voldemort here, because why not? So, yeah, you can see that it does look pretty funny to have someone just sitting on top. Like, I actually kind of like that look a bit more than just having it normal. It gives it this really sort of wacky look, and I like that. It's nice. But yeah, other than that, I feel as though this does look pretty strange. The wings are really interesting to have them be very rounded and stubby and not like actual wings. The wheels on the bottom, like, they really couldn't have put those anywhere else, but I mean, I like, obviously a plane wouldn't have downward-facing propellers, but again, they really couldn't have done anything else there, so that's fine. In the back, you have the lights, which is fine, I guess, but yeah. Also, interestingly, it looks like this area would be the seat, but you can't fit a figure in there, so yeah. Overall, I feel as though the Piranha sub is another pretty great build, and just a really nice alternate build, while the Soaring Steam Plane is kind of disappointing and definitely the worst of the 6 builds we get here, though it's still fine. So now let's move on to the tertiary builds of each, those being the Monstrous Mouth and the Steam Warrior. So here we have the last 2 builds of this pack, these being the Monstrous Mouth and the Steam Warrior. Starting off with the Monstrous Mouth, this thing is really wacky looking and I love it. Just removing it from the base, you can see that it wheels around on, well, 2 wheels, so that's kind of interesting. I love the face here, because obviously you have all the teeth, then you have this red studs being beady red eyes, and then you have the tires, which act as big bushy eyebrows. Like, this thing just looks so angry. I love it. Like, from the other angles, it just looks kind of fine, but I really like it from the front and sort of from, like, an angle. Like, this looks pretty great. Best part, though, is you can actually open and close the mouth. Like, that looks That looks really silly with the super huge overbite, but, yeah, you can open and close the mouth, which is pretty great. It's tantalizing, really. I don't want to stop, but I guess I have to for the sake of finishing this review. But yeah, the other build is the Steam Warrior, and yeah, I know I said that the Soaring Steam Plane was my least favorite, but there's a reason for that, because, well, this one is objectively the worst looking of the 6 builds in this pack. I like it because of what it stands for, because they turned the Hogwarts Express, a standard-looking steam locomotive, they turned that into a mech. And that's pretty awesome. I mean, maybe I'm just biased towards this because it's super fun to use in game, but yeah, it's on 2 wheels, so, like, it just can be wheeled around. In the front, you have this little section up here, which is supposed to be a joystick for, like, the controls for the figure to use, but obviously you can't fit a figure on the real build. There's space for a figure in the game version, but yeah, the back looks kind of odd, top looks kind of odd, but again, I just like how they did the arms. That's kind of an interesting idea, and in general, I just like the idea of them making a mech out of a steam train. That's such a cool idea. But yeah, so those are the last 2 builds, and now let's go on to the final verdict for this pack. So overall, for $25, would I recommend the LEGO Dimensions Harry Potter Team Pack? It's actually kind of a hard question to answer, because, like, when this pack came out, I was so hyped. Like, I mean, when you have to imagine, like, this pack came out in 2016. There hadn't been LEGO Harry Potter sets since 2011, so getting these were huge. But so I was super excited to get this pack, but when I got it, I came away a bit disappointed, because the 2 figures are pretty good, but they're just inferior reprints of figures that looked better 6 years ago, at the time this came out, combined with builds that looked okay but weren't too great. And in game, the 2 characters, like Harry and Voldemort, they play nearly identically. Like, literally, Harry has stealth because he has the invisibility cloak, and Voldemort has a mind control ability for the Imperious Curse, and that's all that distinguishes them. They both have magic, they both have Diffindo, they both have Parseltongue, they both have the magic shield, they both have Reducto, they both have Aguamenti. Like, honestly, yeah. So, and, like, you'd think that I would have to recommend this pack because of the Parseltongue ability, which should be exclusive to Harry and Voldemort, because, like, well, I mean, it's literally a Harry and Voldemort thing. Harry and Voldemort are the only 2 characters in the entire wizarding world that can speak in Parseltongue, except when J.K. Rowling decides to Ex Machina Ron and Hermione into the Chamber of Secrets. Seriously, Ron speaking Parseltongue in Deathly Hallows has to be the stupidest plot coincidence since no one dying in the Chamber of Secrets. But anyway, so you'd think that Harry and Voldemort would be the only 2 characters to speak in Parseltongue, but no, because for some stupid reason, in Wave 9, they made it so that both Bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls and Starfire from Teen Titans Go can speak Parseltongue. I don't know why they did that. It's just such a stupid thing, because not only does it make literally no sense, but also it devalues these guys, because now, like, you could totally just get, like, the Powerpuff Girls Team Pack or the Starfire Fun Pack, and then for the Harry Potter world, just get the Hermione Granger Fun Pack. But yeah, but I'm beating around the bush. Would I recommend you get this pack for $25? I think I would, to be honest, because, like, this is still LEGO Harry Potter, even if it isn't as great as it should be, and not nearly as great as the 2018 stuff, but obviously the 2018 stuff is based off of the first 2 movies with a rumored, I believe, Walmart exclusive set for the 3rd, Or, well, actually, wait, no, not a Walmart exclusive. A set that was originally a Toys R Us exclusive before Toys R Us went under. I'm not going to talk about what that is. I might make a separate video once the information becomes a bit more legal to spread around. But, yeah, so obviously those sets have a very young Harry, and Voldemort isn't in any of them. So, therefore, if you wanted to get a Voldemort minifigure, this is pretty much the only way you can at the moment. And this is also the only way to get a minifigure of older Harry, so that's also kind of valuable. And in general, like, this pack, as well as the Hermione Granger Fun Pack, are basically the last remaining bits we have of the old LEGO Harry Potter line that lasted from 2001 until 2011. Because while the 2018 line is obviously a continuation of the theme, it is pretty much starting off from square one. So it's pretty much safe to say that the new 2018 sets are part of a new theme. Like, they're starting off fresh, new designs, starting back off at the first movie. I mean, heck, we're getting rid of sand green. We're changing up how things are designed. Like, the new line is pretty much a new rendition of LEGO Harry Potter. It's basically a remake instead of the 2010 sets, which were more of a reboot, if you catch my drift. So, well, wait, no, strike that, reverse it. The new sets are a straight-up reboot, while the 2010 sets were more of just a remake, giving us the highlights from previous years with a couple of new sets. But yeah, so really it's almost kind of sad in that sense, because I would almost recommend getting this pack simply because this is pretty much the last we got of the original LEGO Harry Potter line that existed since 2001. So that is kind of something special to me. I did grow up with LEGO Harry Potter. It's a very important theme to me as a person. Both LEGO Harry Potter, like, it sounds ridiculous, but LEGO Harry Potter kind of shaped who I am today. Like, were it not for LEGO Harry Potter, I would not be a fan of LEGO. Let's be real here. So that it's just so the theme is so important to me, to the point where I almost have to recommend getting this pack simply because of how much nostalgia the theme has for me. But objectively, yeah, I would still recommend getting it. Like, the figures are still good, even if they're, again, not as good as they originally were. The builds are fine. You get some nice parts at the very least. Yeah. However, luckily, it seems though I wouldn't even have to recommend this for $25, as pretty much everywhere is putting heavy sales on LEGO Dimensions now, because, it's dead, and no one bought it. So there's lots of extra stock everywhere. Like, Target, like, as far as I can tell, most Targets have Dimensions, like, all packs for, like, 70% off. So, yeah. I mean, just get this pack for 20, like, and obviously, if I'm going to recommend this pack for $25, I'm going to say it's a must-buy for less. So, yeah, overall, I get this pack. Not the greatest, but still pretty good. And, yeah. Don't exactly know how to end this video. I guess thank you all so much for watching, and I will see all of you in my next video. Bye-bye.